Okay, welcome everybody. We are here with another episode of Recycled Idaho. I'm going to introduce our guest. I got Graham from VGS. How you doing? I got Jordan right here. How are you?
Good.
Thanks for having us.
Yes, thank you.
Thanks for coming on. We've been working with your company for how many years? How many years has it been?
Almost
2.5 years.
3 now.
And you guys are up out of Portland? Is that right?
Portland is our home office.
You're out of, well, let's just dive in. What's VGS stand for?
It could stand for a lot of different things. There's no definite, but we always introduce it as very good service.
Okay.
Yeah. That's really our goal, turnkey, white glove, best way to say it.
You all about customer service?
Yeah, we're known as movers a lot of times, but that's why we have a logistics as opposed to a moving moniker, and we try to differentiate ourselves because we don't just leave the product in the customer's hands to set up. It's all ready to use when we leave. So turnkey.
What do you guys do though?
What do we do?
Mm-hmm.
Move solutions, so office moves when office mates need to go from one location to another. Oftentimes that's prior to decommissioning, which we also handle, which is the removal of all FF&E, furniture, fixtures, and equipment from an office space. And then also furniture installs and upgrades.
So
office furniture.
let's say if we built like a new corporate headquarters for United Metals and we are all moving there, we could hire you to move all the people that need to get moved over there, and you'll take care of it all?
Exactly. Take care of all the furniture, take whatever needs to get out.
Like how long would I be down on my workstation?
Sometimes as little as 4 hours, depending on the moves. We have clients who require it to be finished within a very specific time frame.
And obviously that's contingent on how close the location is.
Yeah. Origination and destination. So in the move management end, which we're developing more and more of, we have trade partners who do move management specifically, and we're moving into more of that. As far as the analysis of who's going where, getting our move control documents put together, making sure that everybody's aware of when they're moving, they have all their stuff packed up. There's a long list of things that goes along with moving an employee from one location to another.
Oh yeah, especially if an employee's been in like an office for the last 10 years.
Mm-hmm. Or 20.
They got 20 years. They got shit everywhere.
Yep.
So a lot of them that forces them to probably clean up their shit.
It does.
And which probably makes them feel great, because that always feels good when your desk is clean and organized. And then I would assume you don't just do you do just moves? If I'm like, hey, I'm happy with what I got, can I just move this to point A to point B? Or do you only do it if I am buying more new equipment, new office desk?
Good question.
Yeah.
As small as a handful of people moving from one location to another without decommissioning, absolutely, we handle those types of things.
Okay.
Our bread and butter is typically moves that are more than an office manager could handle, or a manager of the location could handle. And a lot of times that ends up being 20 or 30 people, so that's generally when people start to consider us, although it could be as small as 10, depends on the circumstances. But yeah, everything from moving 5 to 10 people from one location to another is being complete, all the way through 400. We just did 200 plus in about 3 days in a
200 people?
200 people in about a 3-day move, Silicon Valley. So we have locations, satellite locations in Phoenix, Arizona, as well as the Bay Area.
Okay, so you guys have Portland, you have a location here, and then you got the two others?
Yep, 2 other satellite locations that we have clients that we just don't have enough business there yet. But that's our expansion, where we're heading. So There's a lot of opportunity here, the Bay Area, obviously with COVID and everything shutting down.
Made things weird for everybody.
Weird.
Everyone had to get
good
creative.
way to say it. It's a ghost town there, from what we understand. So there's a lot of furniture that needs to be decommissioned down there. A lot of people that are going to be downsizing, so they need to be moved from one location to another. There's lots of opportunities all over the United States when it comes to corporations making changes, needing help, not getting lost, because it's really common to get lost. The pitfalls are, they're big landmines too. If you can avoid them, I would highly suggest avoiding them.
I believe that. And Graham, are you guys doing the IT? Are you guys bringing in IT guys to run the new communication wire or whatever, Wi-Fi routers into these offices?
Yeah, so we have a guy on staff who has all the certifications for low volt, and all of our guys are trained on doing computer disconnects and reconnects.
Okay.
So, our standard operating procedures, generally taken down their computer, they will have had move instructions to pack up all their personal items, and then we do the move for them and hook their computer up and all their peripherals just the way they had it before.
Okay.
Which sometimes can be a bit complicated because
There's got to be sometimes some snags in that, right? Because, if it, where you guys have to troubleshoot it, if you're like, well, why the hell isn't this
every once in
working?
a while, but I think the way we handle doing it right is good documentation.
You would probably do it better than me, because I would, when I do shit like that, I'll look at it, and I might take a photo, big might, and I'm like, I'll remember where all this was.
Right, but
I'll
when you're doing 200 moves over 3 days.
But I won't on one move, so you guys have to be documenting with photos.
Oh yeah, and everything has to go in static bags and kept together and possibly bubble wrapping monitors and then hooking it all back up the same way with their docking station the way it was. The monitors hooked up to different things. Oftentimes people have multiple monitor setups.
Their
and
photos of their families back up where they
personal
want.
items they get to handle themselves.
Okay, I was just curious, how deep does this go? Because I'm I get a little weirder, So for both of you, what's the biggest and or craziest job you guys have done?
Oh, probably 4 floors, 340,000 square feet of decommissioning, and the request was as fast as humanly possible.
Was that the one I'm thinking of that was here?
Yeah. We have a client who's
They make computer chips.
Semiconductor.
We can't say their name.
A
but we
semiconductor
could
manufacturer.
talk-
And they contracted us to go ahead and decommission, to move all of their people out of the building and decommission 4 floors of offices and cubicles and conference rooms. Oh, goodness. What did we end up with? 1,200 people moving in preparation for that, I believe. I want to say it was about 1,200 moving just for that one. I could be mistaken there. I have all the numbers if we want to look at them. But
Yeah.
it was
the ballpark.
huge,
That's a big
numbers,
number.
Huge numbers. And there were 20. The numbers escape me. You know what? Let me just grab them.
Go for it.
Well, you should almost know them, Nick. We were hauling trucks to you every day for 3 months.
The number is a shit ton. That's the number you're looking
Tons
for.
and tons and tons.
Yeah.
Okay, here it is. Workstations was 1,770 workstations that we decommissioned. I'm sorry, those were cubicles only. And then offices were a couple hundred, 120 conference rooms, 1,700 employees moved in preparation for and out of that building. A portion of those had already been moved or were working from home, so it was more than 1,000 that we moved in preparation for this. 3,400 bulbs. Each workstation had, what are they called?
2 fluorescent bulbs.
Yeah, fluorescent bulbs in them, and those have to be collected hazmat. If one of them, with a lot of people around, you don't want to breed that stuff. So,
I will look up the real number of how much we've recycled here at United Metals.
probably hundreds of tons.
Oh, it's insane.
Probably
It's insane. I'll look
400
it up.
tons,
I'll
if I were
put
to
it
make a
on this
guess.
podcast
Sure.
for everybody to see. And this is where I met Scott and Dan in 2019.
Yep.
They got a hold of us, and I really liked them. I liked your guys' culture, and they just came and it's like, hey, can you recycle any of this? And these are like cubicles. Mainly, the main things that we were recycling are like cubicles and like old like filing cabinets and things of that nature.
Old desks. Yep.
The old desks like that.
Metal chairs.
And in the metal chairs, and you know that scrap we were able to. They gave me a sample of the filing cabinets and all that stuff. That's tin. You know, that's
almost
just
all metal. Yeah.
Almost all metal. It's the things that are like the desk with the wood tops. We learned like, no, we got to take the wood tops off. That's not good enough. You know, that's just too much waste. And then I took 3 different sizes of those cubicles here, and we broke them down. And it was, I don't have the exact number on me, but it was around 80% of it was metal, which people won't really think that when you look at a cubicle. You know, because a lot of things, the thing that's cool about it is the middle section was all metal too. You know, and I think that those were nicer probably so people could use magnets on them.
Yeah.
So that, because I've
Lots of
seen them,
reasons.
so those are better. Actually, I've seen some that have that particle board center.
Or cardboard.
Or cardboard, yep, I've
Yep.
seen those.
Yep.
And that's where us as a company, rather than saying, no, like we don't haul garbage.
Right.
We said, well, let's look at it and see. And then we're like, okay, yeah, we'll do it. So we provided a trailer, and we would swap them a lot. And
lot.
insanely, like
Sometimes 2 or 3 times
2
a
or
week.
3 times. There was some on that first run where it was like 2 to 3 times a day.
There were some.
Because,
And
yeah, there were some.
we ended up running
And then
26-footers
you guys were running
as well. You know, 3 or 4 loads.
3 or 4 loads a day.
A day sometimes.
It was insane.
It really was.
And it was really cool, though. And it was cool to help keep that out of the landfills.
I couldn't imagine what it would be like if we threw all that away.
And even the landfills, like a lot of those landfill operators, they're separating, they're segregating their
Are they?
metal. Yeah, and they recycle it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people don't really think about that when they think of landfill. Like if they think it goes to landfill, it's lost forever.
Right.
But you never know. Like with those, they might be like, oh, this is garbage. You know,
Lower
you
tolerances
just
or
never
something.
know. Like they just might not realize like, oh, this actually is most of the weight's still iron, metal, you know. So we got it here. I think we made it all work. So I recycled the metal. Did you throw the rest away? What do you guys do?
We try to reduce that.
Yeah, on that project, we wasted maybe a little more than we have subsequently. So you were talking about taking the wood tops off the wood desks.
Yep.
We're basically doing that with everything as long as our customer allows it. You know, they don't have time constraints because it does take extra time to pre-process
Because
and
some of
sort.
the customers want it recycled, and some probably don't
I
care
think
as much.
everybody wants it recycled, but they just might not.
It's like anything in this society. Everybody wants it recycled, but they don't want to pay for it to
Exactly.
get
yeah,
recycled.
or put the time into it or
Yeah.
anything. you
So
know.
because
Consume
once you really
resources.
dial into like recycling certain things like fibers and plastics and things of that nature, it costs more than it's worth.
Well,
It
But to
does.
really recycle it, there's got to be a cost associated with it.
Yeah.
So,
Unfortunately.
but you were able to find homes for the wood.
Yeah, so we found another wood recycler here in Boise, and we've been working with them for all the wood surface. So that has
Give them a
enabled
shout out
us-
if you want. It's up to
Treetop.
Yep,
Treetop,
Treetop
okay.
Recycling up on Diamond Street.
you. Okay.
Yeah, so they're taking a lot of our wood now, and that allowed this last project. We kept all but less than 5%. It's probably going to be around 3% that actually went into a dumpster. I think we only ran one dumpster on
Like
about
last week.
250,000 square feet of decommissioning.
That's
Everything else
Oh
went
no,
to.
this one was about 70.
Oh, sorry,
Yep,
70.
no, that one was right. We've done 2 large decommissionings and 1 medium decommissioning at this point out there. 750,000 square feet or something crazy. But the numbers have been reduced drastically because of the inclusion of recycling the wood tops. We don't know the final numbers yet. We'll get those, and it'd be nice to post those.
We'll
on
post
with-
those. We'll
with
put
you
them in
guys
the
as well.
comments. And we can overlay it. We'll get it on here. Whiteboards. You guys gave them. Did they get new whiteboards? What did they get? Did you guys sell them new whiteboards, or did they
Oh,
get those
they
cool
got-
glass ones?
Right,
Those
I'm
clear
not
ones?
sure. We'll see what they put in. That's the next contractor's job. But
So you're just doing the move and decommission. And
Right.
You're not putting up whiteboards for
Not
people?
in this instance.
Not in this one. But you do
so,
for other accounts. Okay.
but before we try to recycle anything, to keep it, if there's any usable life left in a product, it's better to donate it to somebody
Which
or
is
try to
still
get
recycling
it.
to a
Right.
certain extent.
Well, it'll
Yeah,
get
reuse.
recycled someday
Yeah.
probably,
Yeah.
but at least you get some use of life out of it before you have to crush it up and bale it and send it to.
Well, I've got one of those whiteboards in my office rather than throwing it because that thing probably would have gone to the landfill. There's a little bit of aluminum on it, but it was, and they probably had a steel sheet in the center because it's magnetic, and we're able to donate a few to a place my wife volunteers at, Breaking Chains Academy in Nampa. They got two of the bigger ones.
Cool.
I just met with them. They're going to figure out how to use them. They haven't got them up yet. Those things are monsters. They're heavy.
8 and 10 feet, I think. on
Yeah,
those.
they're
Those what we
big.
brought over for
So,
you. Yeah.
and I still have more that we're donating out. We're trying to. I think I got the Mountain Home School District's going to take some.
Cool.
Yeah.
And it's cool. Like
Thank
so, we're
you.
going to see
Yeah,
all
thank
that
you.
go
We
out.
appreciate
No, and
it.
we thank you because we're using them internally too.
Yeah, and we gave about 120 from this last
Hmm.
job to Sage International School. They're building
Okay.
a new campus, and they were so grateful. I mean, there's nothing better
Those have
than
to
like a
cost a
grateful
lot of
teacher.
money.
Oh yeah, they're not cheap.
No,
Yeah.
they're not cheap.
Those
Those are quality ones, too.
Those quality industrial size ones.
Yeah,
Yep.
and I mean even just freight and delivery on them is really
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. So Sage International, Greenleaf Academy.
Oh, okay.
His kids go to Sage, mine go to Greenleaf, and then Boise State as well.
Sage is out here.
yeah, down on Park Center they have a
Oh, okay.
campus, and they're building a new one
Got it.
out that way a ways.
So let's go back a little bit. Did Scott and Dan start this company? I met them
Good question.
originally.
Scott did, kind of. His,
Okay.
I believe, father-in-law is the one who founded the company about 20 years ago, under a different name. About 5 years ago.
What was the name? Are you allowed to say it?
Oh goodness, yes, and I don't recall off the top of my head. It may come to me.
It wasn't VGS.
VGS,
Oh,
no.
okay. I thought it was
So,
that name.
Changed
different
ownership.
name. Okay,
and
got it.
About
I didn't know
5 years
that.
ago,
Yeah.
right? About 5
Okay.
years ago, it was rebranded. Was going to go into some government services, which is originally what the logo and everything was going to entail. But then a few things changed and some transitions to office moves. We have a lot of clients over there in the
Did you
Portland
just
area.
find opportunity there versus where the path of the company was originally going? You found more opportunity in those types of moves versus
Expand services, yeah, and the big changeover was tech. So
Okay.
not all movers can. Don't want to be nice to everybody. Not all movers have the capability
You don't have to be nice.
with their staff to be able to be accountable on a short-term constraint, time constraint.
Okay.
So when we started to get into high-level moves of employees who were, 150, 250,000 a year, you have some challenges when they take weeks to get moved internally or by a company who just doesn't have the. So high-level companies, Fortune 500s don't deal with that. That's minor league stuff.
Yeah.
So when we started to get into those for the city of Portland, for the community college over there, the hospital, many clients over in the Portland area, we started to see that there was a niche or niche in time constraint moves where employees needed to be down and up very specifically.
I think as people maybe move up in their career or a company is trying to scale, they realize how valuable the time is. The most valuable commodity all of us have. I'm always looking for time hacks in my own personal life and my work life. I'm just like, I need more time. I need another hour with my kids, or I need another hour at the office.
Always.
Like, can I wake up earlier? What can I do? So being down, that's a real problem, especially if you have 1,000 people down for, then you got a major problem like that cost. It would be hard to even measure.
Yeah.
Have you guys attempted to measure that cost? 'Cause I know each company's
ballpark,
different.
You know, when we're actually doing the moves.
When you're
and
doing a bid
after the day.
I mean, like if you're bidding someone.
No, we don't take that into account too much on the front end as a company. But you know, our
I
guys together.
would. I'd be like, I'm going to save you this much
Well,
money.
We're
you
responsible for hundreds of thousands, if not millions of dollars in
I would think millions
hourly
for
or salaried employees.
for the computer chip guys. That would have been millions of dollars if they were down.
R&D,
Yep.
production, all kinds. So
Obviously,
yeah,
like a
it's-
smaller outfit like ourselves, like if we were an extra couple hours, it's not as dire,
Even small businesses, payroll is usually their biggest expense.
Yes,
so,
it is.
Yes.
I mean, if you come to them and say you guys are only going to be down half a day, that's a big
And you're
difference
down
than
2 days.
Like this is going to be a
'Cause you
2
could
week
really-
move.
Yeah, then it's a big deal.
It is, because operations must continue or else revenue stops. And I mean, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
Revenue stops, you have bigger problems than employees not working. So,
Gotcha.
yeah, it's not an easy thing to plan for. So that's why the preparation is so crucial in all of these projects.
So what was VGS? What did it stand for? Before?
Very good service. Oh,
Before.
Veteran Government Services.
That's what it was.
Is
Yep,
what
there
was
you go.
changed
I
to
couldn't
5
put
years
it in.
ago.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think when I met Scott, even though it was maybe already changed, that's how he introduced
VGS.
the company.
Sure.
Well, the other way, Veterans
other way?
Government. I
Uh-huh.
think
Yeah.
so.
Yeah,
I
could
could
be.
be wrong. That was a
Could
few
be.
years ago.
Well, that shifted when we started moving into moving computers, because
Okay.
when that was really the transition, because before that we just moved people, or things.
Mm-hmm.
When we don't have higher level constraints on what we're doing, that we're responsible for large dollar amounts of production, it's pretty basic.
Mm-hmm.
But when you start to have to move 30 people in a 4-hour window with 6 guys A to Z, and you get there at 7:30 and they're hooked up by 12:30 and back working.
that's
That's
awesome.
It's turnkey,
Yeah,
and that's
awesome.
the definition in our book, and then we have day one support. This is the best part about what we do, in my opinion, is we're not willing to leave something halfway done. Typically after our moves, like our move down in the Bay Area here, we just completed. Yesterday we had day one support, a full day, where we'll have our low volt tech and a couple of other installers, generally, or movers, tech guys, who are there to make sure that monitors are working.
Got it. So if
Keyboards
there's
are
something
up
that
and
wasn't
running.
right, you got some people with their boots on the ground, like they're there to help.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah, I would imagine a lot of those other companies like yours don't do that. I could be wrong.
It's not standard.
I wouldn't think that would be, because that's an extra expense for you. But
It is.
anyone
We
that's
care.
been doing business long enough realize how important the service is. And people, if they liked your service, they'll go back to you, even if you cost a little more,
That's one of the reasons we called you after the first one, because our first one here in Boise was, I think, about 240,000 square feet, and that was done in a very similar fashion.
Yeah.
How fast can you get it out of the building? And we had some restrictions just because of people or exits in the facility or transport of the materials.
Yeah, there were some things that had to get creative, and
Pretty
with us,
creative.
we have other customers and other
Right.
material we got to move, so we had to both work with each other.
And that was difficult, because
They'd be like, "Hey, I need a trailer," so I'm like, "Dude, my guy's in La Grande,
yeah,
Oregon."
sorry, we don't have anything until Tuesday, and it's
Yeah.
Friday, and we're going, well, this one's full, and we have another one ready to go Monday, and
And I think we did always do our best to get a guy
Yes,
on
you
it.
did.
And we try to get a guy. We usually could get a guy dedicated to that on that first one. The
Yep.
other one wasn't as every day.
not quite as demanding, but there were some other
Was
restrictions.
that
with
different
one.
because of them still going through COVID and all that? Was there a lot of restrictions on your end with all that, or were you able to just get
For
Check-
our
check your
employees, there were,
temp.
it was
temp and
had to be vaccinated. You
What
had
do you
to
have
fill
to-
out your survey
what do
every
you
time
have to
you come
do?
in. Wear
Co-
masks all day,
do a COVID test every day,
twice a week sometimes.
twice a week? Okay.
Yeah.
Yep.
Just
part of the
I
game.
get it, yeah, but it slowed
Yep.
you down.
Yep,
You know?
it did a little bit. We did a pretty good job with all of these mitigating those risks, and we had to bring in 10 to 20% more labor to begin with,
Okay.
because we know. Well, I think we hired 25 people here in Boise in our initial decommissioning, and then we brought over I think another 6 or 8 from Portland. So we had
Okay.
about 25 working on the project initially, with our first one here in town. This latest one, we had about 15, I think, throughout. Pretty standard. So, and that one was a little longer project, about 3+ months versus the first one being, I want to say 40 days or so, 30 days.
Okay.
Pretty quick projects.
Oh yeah,
turnaround on these.
I was able to walk through a few times during the projects, before the project and then during, and I could not believe how much you guys were getting done. I'm like, holy crap! And I call Sal, who controls our trucks. I'm like, hey, we need a guy like dedicated. These guys are moving fast. Like, we gotta be ready. And he did an awesome job. Like, we would get it swapped out.
It's more fun to work hard.
Oh, absolutely, man. The crazier, the better. You know, you just gotta not lose your mind.
Yeah.
You know?
Organized chaos, man.
You kind of hinted on it, but I was gonna ask you first. What is your favorite part of what you do with VGS?
My favorite part is working hard out with the full team, just pushing, sweating.
You like the craziness? Oh, you got to get it done.
Tearing it down, getting physical. That's my favorite part.
Do you like to see the final product? Is it kind of nice to see
a big empty
that?
room or a room of blank cubicles? No, it is fun. Yeah, it's cool to see all the work that's done.
Because the thing with what we do, the guys never get to see an empty pile because it keeps coming in. We always know if that pile goes away, we're in trouble, Sure. So I think I came from a construction and a sales background. Me personally, I would really I'd look at a roof that we did or paint a house oh, that looks awesome. I'm really proud of that.
Yeah, finished product.
The recycling world, they don't really get that. You get the finished bales and you ship the loads.
Oh, we get to see it a little bit, though, because we get to sort the piles. So seeing all of that in the recycling pile and hardly any in a landfill pile.
That's got to feel good.
That feels good.
Yeah,
for sure.
I love it.
When we put the numbers in, I think it was 3.2 or 3.8 tons total to trash, and it popped up as about 8%, and we don't have our final numbers yet from September and a couple other things.
Yeah, I'll get those to you.
Our goals were try to get that under 5.
Mm-hmm.
And I think we have that beat.
Yeah.
We're guessing ballpark around the 2 to 3% range as far as
of waste
of the entire project. That doesn't count. That's by weight, and that doesn't count some of the waste that goes to recycling. So there's a little buffer in there because there is some waste that comes to you or whatever. That has to be,
for sure. That stuff's gonna get shredded,
right? Separated out,
and then it's gonna get blown off and what?
Yeah.
I'd have to ask the shredder guys what they can recycle on their end. They might be that might be a product they are recycling though. There's a good possibility it is. Yeah. I guarantee you if they could, they would. Mm-hmm. No, but inevitably there is some waste that comes off those shredding lines. That's just the nature of the business. Yep. But we do our best to keep it all in the in the recycle stream. So.
Yeah. I got to say my favorite is going from the percentage 30+% into the trash to the 3%. It's 10%.
You like to find a new way, innovate.
That's a huge move.
That's a huge change.
Forward.
Yeah, it's crazy.
I mean, that's major leverage points.
Well, when you told me those numbers when you guys did that luncheon, I was kind of shocked. I'm like, wow, that's all the waste that came out of here.
Yeah, it's crazy to see those reductions. And just going that this product was going to be under a golf course somewhere, eroding eventually. Now it's being shredded and now made into cow beds, things like that that are bedding.
Yep.
Yeah, why wouldn't we do that as a society, right?
Mm-hmm. It makes sense.
A lot more than throwing it away.
What? One more question for both of you. Where do you see the future of VGS? Any big innovations? Any big innovations in the industry you're in? Any big changes or goals?
Keeping it out of the landfill is a pretty big innovation. There's maybe one other company in the country that kind of has a program that'll do that, but
because they probably more maybe are turn and burn, right?
Oh, totally, yeah.
Rather than recycle.
It takes a lot. We have to train all our guys before we start saying, here's the 24 categories of items that we're going to be touching. So every time you touch a wood top desk, take the top off, separate the wood from the metal. Every time you touch pedestal, put it in the metal pile. Every time you touch a file cabinet, goes here. When you touch 24-inch monitors, put it in the redeploy pile. When you touch a 17-inch monitor, put it in the donate pile. So we have to go through and train all our guys for every single thing we touch before we even get in there. But that's the only way to do it, because after it's taken out of the building, nobody can, unless you're just shredding it and doing your kind of best to separate, like you could never get donate items back out again of something that went in a dumpster. So only the first guys that can touch it, which is what we're there to do, are the ones who can sort it and actually try to keep it out of a landfill.
Awesome.
Zero landfill. The industry is moving toward refurbishing. So I don't know how much refurbishing is going to be done out of the older stuff that's coming out, because some of it can be refurbished, some can't.
Like selling like the old desk? Is that what you mean by that?
Well, no, you get cubicles. So let's say
okay.
you have
like,
we're going to be working on an install here next week, in a week, on some reused furniture out of California for a client. New office getting open here in Boise, and they need 10 stations set up or something, 14 stations. And so they'll pull furniture from a used, a decommissioning, and take it and try to redistribute it. But if it's old enough or not in good enough shape, they've got to refurbish it, which means they've got to dry clean sometimes all of the fabrics. Other times they'll strip them and reattach. So this is a lot of times the manufacturers who are doing this. So closed loop systems. Apple, him and I talk about this all the time, about closed loop systems in the manufacturing world, and Apple is one of the few that does that in the world. Tries to, right. It's extremely difficult to track everything.
So they're trying to get all their computers back, is what you're saying?
Put a product out and make it available for their customers to bring it back to them and recycle, reuse, redeploy, whatever. Same thing in the furniture world. The problem is that the money isn't there, and the installs, the pulling it out is more expensive than what it's worth.
Got it.
Right?
I would think like those cubicles, that makes a lot of sense if you found the person that manufactured them and ship them back to them, and they're already set up. I would think it's got to be cheaper to reskin them than rebuild the whole thing. I don't know though. I have no idea.
They're heavy and bulky.
That is interesting.
Depends on how far you're traveling.
Yeah, the location's huge.
Yep.
Lots of obstacles. That's interesting. That's what I love about my job, is I get to see all these different industries that also recycle.
Yeah.
And kind of learn a little bit about it, and it opens my eyes to, I'm like, oh, I never thought of that, And it's cool. Well, I really appreciate it, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much, and we'll get those numbers. We'll put it on here.
All right.
And I'm hoping it was 2% waste.
Yeah,
So,
me too. Awesome. Me too.
Thanks, guys. Thank you, everybody.
Yep. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thanks.